Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Little Johnny watched and was fascinated as his mother smoothed cold cream all over her face. "Why do you do that, Mommy?" little Johnny said. "Well, to make myself beautiful," said his mother, who then began removing the cream with a tissue. "What's the matter?" asked little Johnny. "Are you giving up?" Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Might be the last good day for a while. Good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning on a Tuesday. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Get ready for winter driving. Don't forget those good folks. And some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
Of course I am. I'd love to do the pledge.
Well, one of Santa's little elves before he gets busy up at the North Pole. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, what's that one elf's name, Barney or something like that? I'll start calling you Barney the Elf during Christmas season.
I can't remember, but when it comes to mind, I will definitely mention that.
All right, buddy. Thanks for the pledge. We appreciate it. It's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Well, I love these people. They are so nice, and they know everything about carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Ooh, look for that blue door. And don't forget, you get a free pad with the carpet that you purchase, and they're going to have trees at the Festival of Trees in Burley and Rupert. These are really community-oriented folks at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And right now, here's the weather.
Better enjoy today's weather because the rest of the week, woo, it's going to be getting chilly. Looks like mostly sunny skies for today, high of 66 with an overnight low of 38. Winds out of the south right around 11 miles an hour. Now for tomorrow, winds are going to be picking up to about 20 miles an hour. We do have some clouds in the area as well. High of 40, overnight low of 24. Sunny for Thursday, still going to be on the breezy side, high of 42, overnight low of 21. Pretty much the same for Friday, partly cloudy 45, overnight low of 25. And then heat wave for Saturday, brace yourselves, partly cloudy skies, high of 53. That's your weather. Where's Zeb at the Ranch?
All right, Gina, thanks. Heat wave, yeah, right. Hey, I appreciate it. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Don't forget they got ceramic tiles in stock, only 99 cents per tile. Woo! Stop in today, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, and look for the blue door. Don't forget, Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. And Merv May, Cade, Rogge, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. If you need consignment information, sale information, call them at 678-9411. 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Sale on Thursday. Wow, we got a lot of things to take care of this morning, and I want to remind you right now that Lunch Bunch is this Thursday. Put it down on your calendar. Is this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's. I'll be telling you more about that in just a few minutes. I want to also remind you about Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Daryl's Cleaners. I mean, a lot of you folks are getting back from your hunting trips. A lot of you folks, if you're like me, when you leave a hunting camp or you leave your camping area, kind of just half-heartedly roll everything up and just pitch it in the back of the pickup or the camper. Well, don't leave it until next year. You're going to unroll that sleeping bag and go, whoa, baby. That's bad. You better go have them cleaned right now so they're ready to go. Take everything into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Wonderful people serving you at Daryl's Cleaners. And by the way, too, don't know what we'd do without these folks. They're so handy for us, and that's SafeLink Internet. And they've extended their hours of technical support. They've got a great technical support team, and SafeLink Internet fast and reliable. And all you have to do is call to get on the program. Is call 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. SafeLink Internet. Call those good people today. Okay. Now it's your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to start things off on a note that I wish these people would follow through. All the actors and actresses, there is a relatively large list, I think well over 25, 30 of them, that said, well, if Trump's elected as president, I'm going to leave the country. Well, you see, they made some very not thought out remarks because Trump was elected as president, and now many people are trying to help them leave the country. Stars like Barbra Streisand. Please go, Barbara. And Jon Stewart. And Chelsea Handler. And Samuel L. Jackson. And Miley Cyrus. That was one of the most despicable ones on television that I saw. She cried. She wailed. She sniffed her nose and she dried her eyes. I don't know how I can make it. Trump is president. Oh, woe is me. Oh, give me a break. Well, a weatherman in Oklahoma, I believe he was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he really had one of the most humorous sketches on this that I've ever seen. He's a weatherman, and what he did is he took time on his weather forecast to map out the best route to leave the United States and go through customs. And he told these actors and actresses and so-called singers, he told them what papers they needed, from their IDs all the way to their passports, and how they had to have everything ready and the best times to cross the border so it wouldn't take them very long. I started laughing at that, to aid and abet them getting out of this country. It was great. And it's just absolutely, these are loony, make-believe losers. And I wish they'd follow through and leave. A very plastic world, Hollywood. Not all the people are like this, not all of them, but the vast majority. I mean, Jon Stewart and Lena Dunham, and the list goes on and on and on. Cher, oh boy. Anyway, this weatherman in Oklahoma trying to get them a lot of assistance in leaving the country. I loved it. Caller, I'll be right there. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hey, yeah, you heard the weather forecast same way I did just a minute ago with Gina. It sounds like the bottom's going to fall out of the bucket tomorrow, and it's going to get cold and windy. Well, you better make sure your furnace is operating efficiently. Check out all the furnace filters at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Oh, and by the way, too, I want to remind you again, Lunch Bunch is going to be this Thursday. Our thanks to Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, and Stokes for the gift certificates. Excuse me for the frog in my throat this morning. And Denny's Restaurant is our host, America's Diner at 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Have you heard about the pancake specials they've got going on, like the red velvet pancake puppies with white chocolate chips? And then listen to this. You dip them in a cream cheese for side dipping. Oh, they're great at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. You stop in to America's Diner today. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am Peachy.
Okay, Peachy. There's at least two people that don't appear that will be going away out of the country, and that's Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was at a grocery store, and while waiting in line, I read the headlines on the Inquirer. It said they will be going to prison. And then down below, they gave all the reasons why.
Yeah.
The sex ring or what, I don't know exactly what all it said because I didn't go any further with it, but there was sexuality involved in it and everything else, and I don't know, I was wondering if you heard anything about it.
Well, first of all, Keith, and I don't mean this to denigrate the Inquirer, but 90 times out of 100, the information is going to be graphically exploding into a speculative type circumstance. Those are big words for saying, I don't give a lot of credence to the Inquirer. But, you know, it's food for thought. It's food for thought. And like I said, I don't deal in speculation. I'm not going to play that baseball game. I'm not even going to put a uniform on. And until I hear verified, bona fide facts from people that I trust in this industry back in Washington, D.C. and New York, I'm going to treat it as just nothing more but tabloid journalism.
Well, the one thing I want to add to that is the fact that the Inquirer does these things knowing they're going to be sued, but their circulation will become so great because it looks like a sensational story.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why you can't always put a lot of trust.
Well, I think that you, being in the car business all of your life, you should come up with an enterprising shuttle service. Maybe with your connections, you could come up with a used, fancy limousine, and we could paint it something on the side that would say Hollywood to Canada, one way. And we could come up with a special route. You could put on your tuxedo and that little black cap, and you could chauffeur these actors right across the border and with a very good goodbye when they get out of the car not to come back.
Yeah, and there'd be a special note on there. One way only, no return space.
Yeah, no return passage. There you go. Keith, got to run, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You've heard the news.
Oh, yeah, you've heard the news is right. Hey, we've got some happy Thanksgiving wishes from Pump Equipment. The Baker Brothers. How are the Baker Brothers? These are good guys at 103 West 500 South of Burley. The Baker Brothers want to thank everybody that has made their business so successful, from residential and commercial, wells and pump service, water softener sales. They give you same-day service. The Baker Boys. I'm telling you, these are good people at Pump Equipment. Wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving, along with Larry Chris Auto Body. There's a new one to our program. Hello, everybody over at Larry Chris Auto Body, 244 Overland and Burley. And when you want the best work on your vehicle's auto body, collision repair, car lockouts, call them and they can get you back in the vehicle. I think I better put their number on my hotline service, 878-0023. And when you want your car detailed, they really are fantastic. That'd be a great stocking stuffer for Christmas, too. Larry Chris Auto Body. And K&R Rental, 256 South 600 west of Burley. Locally owned and operated, K&R Rental has it all from air compressors to tractors for landscaping, lawn and garden equipment, forklifts, you name it, whatever, you're going to find it at K&R Rental, 256 South 600 west of Burley. Good people. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to ask you this. If you're a parent out there in the audience, would you let your child go out of school, out of class, without your permission, and walk up and down some of the not-so-safe streets in America, protesting the election of President-elect Donald Trump? Now, I absolutely was livid when I heard about this story yesterday, and hundreds on yesterday were carrying signs and waving placards and denouncing Donald Trump on the streets of Los Angeles and other suburbia areas of Los Angeles and their school systems. Some students said they had the approval of administrators. Now, come on, I want moms and dads to call on this because I find this absolutely appalling. Among the protesters, many were 14, 15, and 16-year-olds, and they said they were offended by Trump's criticism of Latinos. Well, here we go. Some of these wet-nosed kids had approval of administrators. That has got to be an administration that should be replaced immediately. Now, my question is, if you put these kids out on the street, and I've got pictures of these kids marching up and down the street, you're putting them in harm's way. There is no way hundreds of school kids can march like this and everybody's going to be in lockstep. Everybody's not going to have any pushing or shoving or maybe running to the curb or anything. Come on, these are kids. So the safety issue is one thing that should be discussed. The other thing is, what about their classes? I think they should have a big, fat, red F for walking out of the classroom. I think they should also be chastised for not having respect for rules and regulations in the school. So we've got safety issues. We've got educational lost time. We've got these kids with no respect for what's happening in America. Like I said, they should have straight Fs and any other kind of school punishment. And if the administrators gave them the okay to go on, leave class, go out and walk on the street, go ahead, they should all lose their jobs. What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you. Come on, parents. This is, it's not a political partisan thing. But think back that when Obama took over 8 years ago, we didn't see from the conservative side all these kids leaving school. Well, we can't support Obama. No, nobody did that. But now with Trump and conservative values and Republican politics, the left is going to do anything they can to keep the waters muddy. What are your thoughts? Go on, give me a call, 436-2244. Well, I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in. Don't forget my friends, and they are at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Real easy to find and easy to get into, and the people are fantastic. Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, and all the physical therapists. They know all the exercises. They'll study and evaluate exactly what your injuries are or what you're trying to get better from surgery. And they know, and they can help get you back to being you. Call for an appointment today at 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley. Absolutely the best. I'm surprised that a lot of parents aren't calling. I'd really like to hear from the moms and the dads out there about, would you turn your kid loose in a protest, especially in the Los Angeles area? Absolutely ridiculous. Caller, I'll be right there so I can give you plenty of time. Stand by. Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. And listen to what they're offering on used Bobcat rental equipment. 0% interest on 48 months if you want to buy. That's right, 0% interest on 48 months if you want to buy used rental Bobcat equipment. Oh, buddy, you better give them a call or stop in today. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental, serving you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Zeb, I'm guilty. I did not ever support Obama. You know, I heard his campaign speeches. I heard what he was saying. I paid attention. And I disagreed with about everything he said. I can't think of a single item I ever agreed with him on. And I'll admit I'm old, and I'm forgetting a lot anymore. And there may have been something, but by gosh, I just can't remember. But I would never, ever, under any circumstances, send my kids or my grandkids out to speak for me on the street.
Yeah,
any school administrator that would go along with the idea that we need to have our youth, school-age children, out protesting, I would say the guy's insane and he doesn't need to be there.
There are so many factors here in this letting these kids out of school, and the safety factors, the educational factors, and I'll bet you that these 14 and 15-year-old kids, I'm just going to come right out and say it, they don't have a clue, primarily because the educational system has dropped the ball as far as teaching them about our Constitution and the values of this great country. And I'm absolutely livid to think that they don't have respect for rules and regulations, and they would be allowed to do this.
Well, you know, thank God for people like George Mass's grandson, who has gone to bat, went before our Idaho legislature, and tried to get flag education and the Constitution put before the schools. We need hundreds of thousands of more kids like him.
I agree. Totally.
What he's doing.
Totally.
To make our country better.
Yep.
You know, we're already the best there is. I don't know how we could get too much better.
Well, we've got some wrinkles right now that have to be smoothed out, and I appreciate it, Jerry, and you're 100% correct. God bless you, man. I got another call, and I got to get a commercial in. Thank you very much.
Okay, you have a wonderful day, and you got to put up with my blessing everybody again.
Okay.
Because that's my normal procedure, has been for years. I bless you, and I bless your whole audience.
I appreciate it, Jerry.
Lord take care of you all.
Thank you.
And I can't bless you. May the Lord bless you.
All right.
That act.
Thanks, Jerry.
You have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice man.
You on the air.
Thank you, Jerry. I got a lot of respect for that, man. Hey, caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I just got to tell everybody that if you're having trouble hearing... What? What did he say, Martha? Well, I'll tell you what, you better give a call for an appointment at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. The lovely Dr. Christine Pickup is the... She might not like this word, but it's the truth. She's the guru of hearing. She knows all about hearing and sound, and if you're losing your hearing, what can be done, etc. So give her a call today at 310 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. You call them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah. I'd like to know just where in the world are the parents, and what kind of parents are they, that they have no more control over their kids than they do. A lot of this comes from the parents and their lack of attention to what their kids are doing. And also, the district leaders and the principals of those schools need to be fired.
You know, what you just...
At 14, 15 years old, have no idea what in the world is going on.
That's right.
Outside their school lives. They don't pay attention to the news. They've got their noses buried in computers and iPads and one thing and another. And the parents should have their butts kicked.
You know, ma'am, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your remarks, because you are 1,000% correct. And I'm going to go back to something you said at the beginning, and I'll say this. I don't think the parents of today, in general, not all of them, and I'm not going to take criticism saying I said all, but many of them have never taught their kids the meaning of the word no.
That's right. It's one of the news clips I was listening to yesterday said that there was proof that George Soros and that Moore guy that does these goofy pictures and some others and that on the Democratic Liberty side, whatever you want to call it, has been paying some of them protesters.
Yeah. And here we have kids that are supposed to be in class learning the basics of math and English and hopefully something about this great country with their social classes, etc. But they're not. They're out standing there on the street or running up and down the street, and they're picketing our new president-elect Donald Trump, saying, oh, he's going to be terrible, oh, he's going to be bad. That, to me, is absolutely the wrong way to view education.
And that's because the so-called teachers are instigating it.
I agree. Thank you very, very much. God bless you. Thank you.
You too.
Caller, good morning. You're on the air. I agree with that lady emphatically. Go ahead.
Well, I think that we really just don't know how bad this really is. The education system is so full of, if you want to really identify them, they're socialists, they're communists, they have no morals, they have no sense of country, they don't care about the Constitution, and they probably, some of them have never even understood, whether or not there is an actual God, a Christ who is their Savior. These things, you see, we look at them like somehow or other they have some sort of anchor in their life, like you and I were raised. See, they're so far out there, it is frightening.
Randy.
Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it has to be a crisis in their lives. And so, I guess quite a few of us decided there was enough. And I think there's a lot of children who may have not knowing what they do now, but they've learned a lot because mom and dad decided that all of a sudden it was time to get out, learn something, and make a difference.
Yeah, Randy, listen, let me ask you a quick question here. Real fast, short answer. When you were 14 or 15 years of age, would you have written a sign to carry in a protest march that said, apathy is not an option? Honestly, at 14 and 15, would you have written that sign? Doesn't that sound like a plant?
Yeah. As well as I do, the environment that these children are in with these administrators and these teachers who I mean, it's happening in Berlin. I know. I've run into some of these teachers. It's not the administration, but there's certain teachers that have an agenda, and my children would write a paper, and it had to do with something political, and they were offended, to say the least.
Well, I tell you what, school time is so precious. Education time is so precious. And the one thing that irritates me more than anything in this story is that administrators gave some, this is the key word, some of the students' approval to do this. What about all the other hundreds and hundreds that just left class? I'm saying straight Fs, parental involvement. They've got to have some kind of a justice system within the school for punishment of leaving the school grounds, etc. This is absolutely not acceptable.
So many of these parents are just as literally as juvenile. They may have a job, they may make money. When it comes to social issues, they're so peer pressured into this crap, and especially in California and other places like that. You know, they have no spine whatsoever, and they will answer for their actions one day.
I agree. Randy, I got to run, but buddy, I appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thanks. What are your thoughts as a parent? I mean, just turn your kids loose on the street carrying pot. And that sign, I want to go back to that sign. There was a picture of these students marching down the street, and like I said, a lot of them are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. They're wet behind the ears, carrying a sign that says, apathy is not an option. Now, you might say, well, the kids are better educated today, and they know the better use of the English language. Oh, come on, give me a break. How many 14 and 15-year-olds are going to write a sign that says, apathy is not an option? Oh, I'm not buying into this. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Hey, don't forget Streamline Precision with my dear friend Tim Vaughn. You know what they want to build for you? They can build for you. They've got all the pre-engineered steel buildings, Nucor and Prime and Sukup, and long-lasting maintenance-free. Now is the time, going into the slower winter months, that you can get your operation fixed up, built up, and ready to go for next spring. Call them today at 431-7314. I'll repeat it again, 431-7314. Tim Vaughn and Streamline Precision. You give them a call now. Okay? Got you covered. And while I have just an opportunity between phone calls, I also want to remind you about the great staff. These are nice people over at Ark Animal Hospital. I tell you what, warm hearts for cold noses. I know one time I forgot the phrase, and unfortunately they were right there to correct me. It is neat. Warm hearts for cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Hayburn. And Dr. Bill Fulcher, Dr. Liz Schrepfer, and the entire crew. Nice people. I'll tell you what, it's a mixed animal practice, meaning the big animals or the itty-bitty ones, they love them all at Ark Animal Hospital. Don't forget the number, 678-1177. Okay. Now, give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There are probably those in the audience that say, oh, well, that's great social studies. They can learn how to go out and protest and speak out against things they don't care for. Come on. At 13, 14, 15, and 16, I dare say if you ask these kids some questions, not only about the election, but about our government and about our basics of this United States of America, they're going to go, I went because Ernie went. Yeah, Ernie, I follow Ernie everywhere he goes. They don't have a clue. And the safety factor. I'm looking at these pictures that I got out of about 3 or 4 different newspapers, and I don't see any adults marching with these kids. I don't see where there would be, elevated factors of making sure they're safe and secure. And kids are going to be kids parading down a street. I mean, you're going to have, like I said earlier, the pushing and the shoving, and possibly somebody gets pushed out in the street, or somebody could get hit by a car. There could be a criminal element there. I mean, good heavens, any of the negativities are available. And to let these kids just basically get up and walk out of school, and the teacher's standing there going, class, and they're all out on the street taking a freebie to go out and supposedly protest the election of President-elect Donald Trump. What are your thoughts? Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I need somebody to call me that watched the beginning of the Bengal and Giant game last night. Now, the reason is I missed it, okay? I've been taking a little bit of my own survey over the various networks, whether CBS, whether Fox Sports, or whether ESPN, or whether the football channel, the NFL channel 154. And I'm trying to figure out how many and how often the networks are overriding the national anthem and not showing it or playing it. They're covering it up. I made this statement the other day, and I had some people say, oh, no, you're wrong. Many games are still showing the national anthem. But it's also a proven fact, and it was brought out by kind of a panel survey the other day on one of the news broadcasts that, yes, the NFL and the networks are trying to cover up the national anthem because of the players that are sitting down or taking a knee to the anthem. And they don't want to show the anthem because they're afraid it might turn off more viewers to the NFL football games. So be it. I personally, and I never thought I would say this, honest to goodness, I am a dyed-in-the-wool football fan. Because of Colin Kaepernick, and because of the others that have followed him blindly into this political oblivion of not really knowing what the heck they're standing for, overpaid, underworked, multi-million-dollar athletes not respecting our flag or our country, I personally have been turning off a lot of the NFL games, with some of the NFL teams in particular where their players have shown a disrespect to our country and our flag. I won't watch it. Now, there are those out in the audience that will say, well, big deals ever. You're just one. I'm sure they won't miss you. Well, it adds up. There are a lot of people like me, and the viewers' surveys are starting to take their toll on the NFL. I said this yesterday, and it's coming to fruition, that when they do their survey numbers, what are you watching right now? Well, I'm not watching the NFL. Why? Well, because of the anti-national anthem escapades of Colin Kaepernick and others. They make note of that. And they make note of that to the sponsors. Pretty quick, if the NFL doesn't get its act together and start becoming heavy-handed with some of these prima donna athletes, it's going to fall apart as far as its viewership and its popularity. And they can thank these prima donna overpaid players. And they've got something to worry about, too. When the sponsors decide to take a hike and go elsewhere with their dollars, that means that Jerry Jones of the Cowboys and all the other owners are going to sit back and say, whoa, wait a minute. Our product is not as popular as it was, and we can't offer these big multi-million-dollar contracts, and some of these prima donnas are going to have to take a real cut in pay to play a game that they supposedly love. It's going to start taking ill effects on every single person in the league, thanks to the idiocy of Colin Kaepernick. I will never say a good word about that young man. never. Time for our weather forecast, and it's brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care at 382 North Overland in Burley. Yep. And Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. You know what? They've got the flu shots available still for $20 or even free with some of the insurance coverages. And they want to see you. I know this is the season for coughs and fevers and sinus infections and lacerations and everything else. So just remember, minor emergencies, major care. At the Urgent Cares, Kyle James and his staff serving you. We'll have more right after the weather.
Better enjoy today's weather because the rest of the week, woo, it's going to be getting chilly. Looks like mostly sunny skies for today, high of 66 with an overnight low of 38. Winds out of the south right around 11 miles an hour. Now for tomorrow, winds are going to be picking up to about 20 miles an hour. We do have some clouds in the area as well. High of 40, overnight low of 24. Sunny for Thursday, still going to be on the breezy side, high of 42, overnight low of 21. Pretty much the same for Friday, partly cloudy 45, overnight low of 25. And then heat wave for Saturday, brace yourselves, partly cloudy skies, high of 53. That's your weather. For Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Don't forget the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls, Jerome Urgent Care over in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. They're open 7 days a week, serving you. All right, now it's your turn. Come on, get on the telephone, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I would like somebody to call me and let me know, maybe especially from Rupert, the values and benefits of being a sanctuary city. I have been listening very, very educationally. I want to hear everything and learn everything I can about sanctuary cities because I'm adamantly coming out against them, and you're going to hear a lot more from me condemning them in the future. According to Wikipedia, I'll use their analysis and give you the meaning as to what they say when they say sanctuary cities. It's a city in the United States or Canada that has adopted a policy of not prosecuting a person solely for violating federal immigration laws in the country in which he or she lives. Well, if they're here illegally, they should be prosecuted. And if they're here illegally and they've done a crime, they should absolutely be incarcerated and sent back to suffer the consequences in their own country. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I have a point, I think, about all of this. Where are the government classes in our schools? Are they still there? And are the teachers teaching it the way it really ought to be? Because, you know what, I think the majority of the kids don't understand the plot of this until you have that class when you're a junior or a senior, whichever one it is. And you know, that was the best class of my whole college or high school education. And we had a man who taught it who...
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute. Wheels, what's going on over there that we lost that call for a second? Let's see if we can't get her reestablished. Go ahead, Chris.
My government class in our high school, and it was Minico, we had one of the best government teachers, I think, in the, system. But I do believe that back then, most of the government teachers, and that was a junior or a senior class, honestly, all of us walked out of there being so proud that we were Americans because we have the most amazing Constitution.
You know, Chris, I was thinking back to my high school days, and I was thinking back to my civics class, and I was thinking back to my teacher, Mr. Erickson. Mr. Erickson had a face that resembled a granite wall. Mr. Erickson had a physique that resembled being a middle linebacker. And I can't imagine myself and my 32 classmates in that class that we would have got up, walked out of the classroom, paraded down the steps to the first floor, out the door, and staged a protest. I think that Mr. Erickson would have had us all by the nape of the neck back in the chairs within 30 seconds.
Well, I think that those teachers hopefully are resurfacing out there somewhere, because we are on the precipice. And actually, some of those teachers have such a big influence over how the kids feel.
What about from a mother's...
My dad was a constitutional scholar, and he really knew the law. And he had a lot of influence on me, but it didn't come so much until maybe 10 years later.
Yeah. I want you to quickly give me, from a mother's standpoint, your thoughts of if you lived in that area. As a mother, would you want your son and or daughter out marching up and down on Los Angeles streets with all the crime, the safety issues, etc., and teaching them basically there are no respect for rules and regulations?
Well, I can say that unequivocally. My kids' little families would have been in major hurt.
There you go.
Because school, as far as our family was concerned, was the first and biggest job of our kids until they graduated from high school.
God bless you. Chris, you're always welcome on the show. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Nice lady. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to quickly tell you, coming up on November 19th and November 20th, the sale's going to be on the 20th. It's going to be an absolutely great bull and cattle sale at Molson, Angus, and Herefords. That's up at the Molson Sale Barn at 3135 Elmore Road between Parma and Fruitland. Quality comes first. These are really quality cattle. And I urge you to give them a call for more information at 208-739-0725. They're going to be selling 100 head of bulls, 80 Angus, and 20 Herefords, and 50 head of females. And all the animals have been vaccinated and ready for shipment. Call Josh. He was on the air with us a couple of days ago. 208-739-0725. For more information, quality comes first at the Molson, Angus, and Hereford sale. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear what you have to say. You know, this is insane what's going on with Chicago, with Rahm Emanuel, and what's going on with other mayors like Bill de Blasio in New York City. They say regardless, now, this is a thumb in the eye to the law. They say regardless of illegality, regardless of what the illegal aliens have done, regardless of whether they have killed somebody, robbed a bank, or whatever it might be, New York, Chicago, and many others, unfortunately, are going to remain sanctuary cities. They're going to hide them. It's going to turn into a hole-in-the-wall gang like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You go there, you're safe here, man. You don't have to worry about prosecution. You can be a murderer, a bank robber, a rapist, and everything else. We're going to protect you. Don't worry about it. What kind of an insane society are we having here? There should not be anything at all like sanctuary cities. And I hope that this new administration coming up in 65 days will absolutely erase the terms sanctuary cities and get rid of anything to do with that kind of a concept. Let's not forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. Now, Gina said it's going to get nasty out there, and I've got a winter driving resource guide right in front of me from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Yeah, buddy, whether it's all the tires for the ice, for the snow, for the rain, whatever, they've got all the different tread designs. They've got it all for you. They've got all the tire chains. They've got all the batteries. They've got the best in brake service. Man, there is nothing worse than to have No brakes or little brakes. You get in there and have them fixed. They're the best. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, everything right there for your safe winter driving. Yeah, it's going to get cold. Stop in and see my friends, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. I have a really great list of guests coming up this next couple of hours. Frosty Woldridge at 9:06. I can't wait to hear his remarks on the election. At 9:30, Christina Huff is going to talk about the Trans-Pacific Partnership and how absolutely off the wall that thing is and needs to be rewritten or even thrown away. Then at 10:06, we have Dr. History right here in the studio. Going to be a lot of fun. And then, folks, just about the time you thought you have heard it all, you've got to be listening at 10:30 this morning for attorney Christina Martin from the Pacific Legal Foundation talking about a family that bought a little bitty island off the coast of Florida years ago as their own private retreat, and now the government says they can't use it. This is insane. You're not going to believe this story. It's a great one to listen to at 10:30. All of this and more right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget Lunch Bunch coming up on this Thursday, day after tomorrow at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant in Burley, America's Diner. And our thanks again for Smith's Food. I bit my tongue. Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, Stokes Groceries, all of them providing many of our gift drawing certificates. So there you go. I'm going to turn it over to Wheels. We're going to listen to the news from CBS, and I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Or 6 minutes. That's better. Thank you. Oh, my. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. Hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness. Locally owned and operated Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them 734-6969. Get on the route service for your garbage to be picked up. Talk about the Go Mini storage units you can have brought out to your property, and you can store them there, or they can take them back to their property and store them. The porta potties, everything, dumpsters, they've got it all for you at Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. Call them today, 734-6969. Wonderful, wonderful people. Okay, let's see what else have I got here real quick. Oh, and every day on this program, thank you very much to Joel Heward and his family and his staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. You know, what a time, a very traumatic time when there's the passing of a loved one and the family's just basically, they're up in the air. They don't know what to do, what has to be done. Hanson Mortuary can and will help. Absolutely, with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Call them today, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, serving you and your family at 710 6th Street in Rupert. I am looking forward to having this conversation this morning because it's not only with a good old buddy, but boy, have we got a lot of ground to cover this morning. Good morning, Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado.
Good morning, Zeb. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm very excited to see the trajectory of the United States of America. It started going upward rather than downward, and yes, we have a lot to talk about, and this is probably the most exciting election finish in favor of sanity, of rationality, in favor of the American people, much like Brexit out there in London, England, and the UK. The people of America voted for America and for their children's future. So I'm excited to talk about that with you today.
You know, Frosty, I think it goes without saying from both of us, and I dare say that I'm going to mention that I think you and I both had trepidations. We both had fears that this election was not going to be won by conservatism and Donald Trump, and that we were going to be inundated with the absolute loony left with Hillary. And when I saw that he had won, it almost felt like I had a couple of cement blocks taken off my shoulder, because now is an opportunity. It might never come again. It's an opportunity to put this country back on the rails and get the train going down the track the right way. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's certainly true, and I want to really stress the fact that we have changed the trajectory of the United States back onto the tracks of a constitutional republic and toward a more honest and open government that is going to work for the American people. And I know this man is going to work for the American people. And one of the things that I learned just recently is that 85% of evangelical Christian women voted for Trump. And when asked by the moderator what was the reason was that they did not want the Supreme Court to tip over into the liberal ideology, that we needed to absolutely keep America on track, if you will, on the Norman Rockwell track for American values, for the American landscape, for English as the American language, and as a country of law and order, and that our values are going to be upheld. So I thought that was an outstanding response by the women that said, hey, no matter what, I'm talking and I'm thinking about and I'm voting for my children.
Let me ask you this. You're a former school teacher, and I have the utmost respect for you. I was so mad that I just beat my fist into my lazy boy last night watching these punk, wet behind the ears kids, 13, 14, 15, and 16, marching out of school, hitting the pavement with placards and absolutely repulsive statements about President-elect Trump, and the administrators in a lot of these schools let them go. This is insane, turning these kids on the street. The safety issues, the being out of class, the lack of respect for rules and regulations. Talk to me about your thoughts on this.
Well, if you notice, 8 years ago, when Barack Obama was voted into the presidency on his the color of his skin rather than the content of his character, he literally had no credentials whatsoever to become president of the United States. And we, the American people, the other half of that equation, didn't riot. We didn't take to the streets. We simply accepted that the U.S. Constitution and the peaceful transition of power must be accepted. And what you have today is all of these liberals and their children literally going against the U.S. Constitution. In other words, bad or sore losers. I guess the only thing I can say about all those kids is give them a little trophy, participation trophy, and let them go home. Because the fact is, President-elect Trump is going to be the next president of the United States, and he is going to enforce the laws of our country. I heard the latest. I thought he was fantastic on 60 Minutes on Sunday. He answered the questions. He absolutely brought the points forward that you and I have been bringing forward for the last 10 years now, and he was all-American. So these little brats, they have to have safe spaces because they don't want to be touched by anything that has to do anything against their particular political beliefs. Well, get a life, kids. I'm going to give you a little trophy, a participation trophy, and you all go home after this because that's where you're going to go. You're going to go home.
Absolutely, and they should have big red Fs on the days that they're out of class. I think the school should have some kind of punishment to these people, and also some kind of a reprimand for the lazy, slovenly parents for allowing their kids to do this.
I would certainly agree. One of the things that is really disconcerting is that they all should have taken their government classes and realize that this is a constitutional republic, and when the majority votes for a particular individual to lead the country, that's the majority speaking, and the majority in a constitutional republic has the sway. And right now, the majority of the American people said, I want to go with law and order, I want to go with civility, I want to go with common sense, I want to go with absolutely everything in favor of the American people, whether it's trade laws, whether it's enforcing the laws of our country for all citizens, black, white, brown, red, or yellow. And that, to me, is the key, and that's what's going to happen here. And even, I think right now, Mexico City is having some pretty good demonstrations, because Mexico City is really upset because the Mexicans are about to lose $25 billion a year in cash transfers. And then when we start shipping all of the first 80,000 criminal illegal aliens, and then we start deporting and taking away the jobs of all the 15 to plus million illegal Mexicans that are in our country, they're going to have to do something about that themselves, actually have to be accountable for Mexicans in Mexico. So there's going to be a little bit of upheaval in Mexico and even here, but at some point it will all balance out and the rule of law will be reestablished here in America.
This next part that I'm going to bring up is absolutely in your wheelhouse. You could hit this one out of any stadium in America. I absolutely was so mad the other night when I started hearing about sanctuary cities like Chicago with Mayor Rahm Emanuel and New York City with mayors, and what a detestable person he is, Bill de Blasio. And they said, regardless of illegitimacy or illegalities, they're going to remain sanctuary cities and literally hide these illegals no matter what they've done. Murderers, rapists, bank robbers, whatever. These people, Emanuel and de Blasio and many, many others across the United States, are turning these into kind of the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid hole in the wall. We're going to hide you. This is insane.
Well, it's more than insane. It is in violation of our U.S. Constitution. And what I'm excited about is Donald Trump even reiterated that in an NPR radio interview. He said, where we need to, there will be a wall built, and the rest of the time there will be a fence. And he is absolutely going to go after the illegal aliens in this country, and the sanctuary cities are not going to be able. The mandate right now, Zeb, and everyone listening this morning, the mandate is that we absolutely want our laws enforced in our country. That's why we elected Donald Trump. And again, if you look at Brexit out there in London, England, and all of the UK, they voted to get out of the UK because they were tired of being overrun, and they're having their country literally their citizens displaced by all these immigrants. Well, we're tired of the same thing here in America. We want our country for legal American citizens and legal immigrants who did it the right way, so that we can have a law and order society where everybody's treated equal and everybody abides by our laws, because these are our laws and this is our country. And so de Blasio and Emanuel down there in Chicago, and you can go right there to the Moonbeam State with the Moonbeam Jerry Brown, and you can go into Los Angeles, and you can go into San Francisco. But I think there's going to be big action against sanctuary cities as he starts to enforce the internal laws, because it is illegal to hire an illegal alien. It's also illegal to house them. It's also illegal to employ them and transport them. And it's $2,000 per illegal and up to 5 years in prison. So once those laws internally, and I hope all of former military personnel become Border Patrol inside the country and right at the borders, and we're going to see some big changes when it comes to sanctuary cities. And these really half-wit people, mayors like de Blasio and certainly like Emanuel, and out there in San Francisco and all the other places like in Boulder, Colorado, they absolutely are going to change their ways with this new president.
You know, and I said this the other day on the program, and I want to get your feelings on this, Frosty, that Trump can't weaken the stew. He's got to remain firm. He can't pick and choose the carrots or the celery out of the stew, because when he starts weakening his stance, he's going to fail in the first 30 days of his presidency. He's got to remain firm. He's got to stay with what the people voted him in that office for.
Well, that's correct. And I think he's got the guts and the gumption because he's a citizen president. He is beholding to no one. He's beholding to nothing. And he's certainly not beholding to the purse strings. So the fact is, he has the thrust of the American people to secure the borders, to deport illegal aliens, to go after employers of illegal aliens, and housing agents who house these illegal aliens, and any transportation for illegal aliens. We've got a new dawn here in America, and the new dawn is Donald Trump. And I think that that's what's going to happen, and I'm excited about it. I've never gone outside the morning of the next day of the presidency, and I just started pumping my fist and screaming to the sky and thanking God for what happened the next day when I woke up and it was Donald Trump was the president-elect. I think most of America is feeling the same way. That is bedrock America, and bedrock America is about to become part of America again, and that's what I'm excited about. So these sanctuary cities are going to go, and that's the biggest key for me.
Well, let me ask you this. You live in a very big area, populous area of Colorado, and of course the Denver influence around the surrounding area, whether it's Golden or whatever town. What was the general feeling there? I mean, there were people that we see on television, they're sitting on the curb and they're crying. Oh, woe is me. What was the general feeling back there in that area?
Well, it was a feeling of excitement. It was a feeling of relief. My rec center, everybody was just high-fiving everybody there. There was definitely a brighter appreciation. You have to understand that Hillary Clinton could go to prison for, and I hope the Justice Department simply goes after her, gets her ducks in a row, and then takes the time to get all the prosecutorial aspects of what Hillary Clinton did, the Clinton Foundation, all the funneled money, all the laundered money, all of the Saudi money, and all of the illegalities. I hope that the big historians go after her for the Benghazi killings that she created, and I hope that's what goes on, because that needs to come to the forefront. She was and did carry some extraordinary, literally criminal baggage heading into the presidency. And so I think all of the people that even voted for her, they put a pin on their nose and they pulled the lever. But the fact is, she was one of the, again, an oligarchy. She was part of the criminal elite, and she had no business running for the presidency. And that came out. And I think in the final analysis, whether you see Donald Trump as a brash, bold man, you also saw him as a successful man that's going to work for America, and Hillary was only going to do the status quo, the same kind of criminality, and she is the swamp. Well, the swamp is about to get drained, and these criminal, corrupt career politicians are about to get their little noses straightened up here by a man named Donald Trump. Look at his cabinet and look at the new appointees he's going to put into place. I mean, Carson's going to be, Surgeon General, I understand. We've got some really good, powerful, and very competent and very integrous individuals moving into the Trump, it's the Trump circle that are going to guide this nation for the next 4 years. I'm very excited about that.
Well, I am too. And, you mentioned people on the cabinet. But, boy, I'll tell you what, when I start hearing names like John Bolton, former United States ambassador to the UN, a very, very tough man when it comes to fighting ISIS, when I hear people like General William Keane, when I hear people like Rudy Giuliani that took the crime rate in New York City and slashed it less than half. I mean, these are good people that really, I think, can do a great job for this country.
Well, I do too. And when the 60 Minutes asked him what is he going to do about ISIS, he says, I'm not going to tell you all what I'm going to do. I'm going to get with my generals and the generals are going to lay out a plan, and then I'm going to go with the plan, and we're going to go in there and take care of this situation. You know, when you look at what Barack Obama told all of Iraq and Afghanistan, he said, "Well, we're going to leave on October the whatever it was, and all they had to do is just a waiting game." You can't do that. That shows you how absolutely ignorant of military strategy Barack Obama was, and then he broadcast his ignorance. I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said it's better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and prove it.
Yeah.
Well, Barack Obama proved it not only with his mouth but with his actions, and it was nice to see that Trump is going to say, "I'm going to create a strategy with the top generals in the United States military, and we're going to go take care of this situation." And that, to me, shows leadership, and it shows the commander-in-chief that I can stand up with and stand by and support 100%.
You know, one issue that I wanted to comment on this morning, Frosty, is that it's been becoming very apparent to me over the last couple of weeks, thanks to the idiocy of Colin Kaepernick and taking a knee and sitting during the national anthem, that the NFL is in trouble. There's been a lot of other people that have followed his absolutely demeaning movements against our flag and our anthem, and it's become apparent that a lot of the networks are not even carrying the national anthem anymore. They're hiding it, and they're giving the broadcasters extra time, or they're using it for a commercial break. How disgusting to let people like Colin Kaepernick basically rule the listening and hearing and singing and playing of our national anthem. I'm absolutely sick and mad at the NFL.
Well, I am too, and I've actually written to the NFL, and I've been doing some Facebook posts on the NFL, and I can tell you this, I am not going to watch Colin Kaepernick or the 49ers play anything for any reason. I'm not going to support the sponsors, and I'm not going to support any teams and any coaches that allow that kind of disrespect for the United States flag, Old Glory, the Stars and Stripes, my flag, our country, our flag, and I'm going to let them know it. And I guarantee you that if everybody feels the same way and makes the same stance, these coaches, they can let these guys take a knee, but let them take a knee in the locker room. But the rest of us who love our country, who love the United States and love Old Glory, we want to be proud of our country, our athletes on the field, and stand up and put your hand over your heart and thank God that you are an American citizen, and that you have the honor, the privilege, and the integrity and to stand up and be proud of your anthem and your country and your flag. And Colin Kaepernick will be a footnote of idiocy in the history books, but the rest of us are going to prevail. This is our country, and I'm proud of every American that stands up, and we're going to all stand up together.
Amen. We've only got 2 minutes left. Caller, real fast. Go.
Hey, thank you. I really am enjoying this conversation. I truly believe that if Trump goes after Hillary, which Michael Savage said he should let her go, I just wanted to say, what about all the Navy SEALs that died? What about Benghazi? What about all these innocent people that died? If Trump lets her go, that will show this nation that liberty and justice does not prevail in this country. So God bless Donald Trump, and God bless you both, and I hope this thing goes all the way. Thank you.
Frosty, quick response to the caller, please.
Well, thank you. And I think that he's going to literally, he said right there that if he gets to be president, she'd go to jail. Well, the key is he's going to put the Justice Department to its task, and the Justice Department is going to go after Hillary, and Hillary Clinton very well could be in the fight of her life and probably end up in jail. And if that is so, then that means that we have laws in this land, and that laws are better than men or women in this case, and that justice will prevail in our constitutional republic. And God bless you, caller, for those statements.
You know something, Frosty? I don't think that either one of us have had a renewed vigor for our country and its values that we have on this morning's program. It's been great. God bless you, my dear friend, and I'll look forward to next Tuesday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. Godspeed, and God bless America, and God bless all of us, the citizens of America.
Thank you, Frosty Woldridge, dear friend back in Golden, Colorado. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that conversation. Hey, we've got Thanksgiving wishes from the Goody Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. Yeah, buddy, if you're having a hard time deciding what to get your boss or co-workers for Thanksgiving, check out the Goody Shop. These people are fantastic in what they can provide. Fruit baskets and lunch baskets, all kinds of goodie sandwiches, pasta, salad, parfaits at the Goody Shop. 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. Wishing you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving, along with Burley Area Merchants Association. Don't forget, celebrate the holidays with Burley's annual Christmas parade that's going to begin at 6 p.m. Monday, December 5th. That's right around the corner. And this year is the 6th year to see Santa come turn the lights on at Centennial Park. Great people serving you. Shop locally and enjoy the Burley Area Merchants Association. And last but not least, Fairfield Inn and Suites of Burley. I love this. 237 West 7th Street in Burley. Newly renovated, great place for your relatives and friends to stay during the holidays. That's right, just ask for the holiday rates. And remember, share the holidays with your friends and family, but not your bathroom. Have them stay at the Fairfield Inn and Suites of Burley. I love that. And those are just a couple of great businesses wishing you and yours a happy Thanksgiving. Love it. In just a few minutes, we're going to have Christina Huff on the program talking about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and this trade agreement absolutely has to be rewritten. We're going to talk about that in just a few moments. When you think about life insurance, think about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. When you think about life and health and retirement planning and employee benefits, work with the people that can get it all constructed, put together for you, your family, and your business. They can help you. They will help you. Call them for an appointment today at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good people. Oh, and by the way, too, if you're over in that area, I highly suggest that you stop in where the fun is sold. What am I talking about? Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And Deanne gave me a note that says all the snow machines are coming in daily. Yeah, they got brand new snow machines coming in, and you'd better get in and check them out for fun in the snow. That's right around the corner. So stop in today and see them. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 5. They've got a fantastic service department. Oh, and all the accessories you could ever need or want. Right there for great Christmas shopping at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert, where the fun is sold. Really good, folks. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I'm really excited about having this lady on the program because she knows all about trade agreements, good, bad, ugly, like a Clint Eastwood movie. Good morning, Christina Huff. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Absolutely great. Christina, you've been on my program before. Give me a little background of what you do, who you do it for, and why are you an expert on this subject?
Okay. I have two major jobs. I am a stock market analyst. I write a stock market newsletter for Cabot at cabotwealth.com. And I am a trade lobbyist, and my specific job is to help to defeat the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Okay, when you say help defeat it, and by the way, I want to let you know up front, I'm not trying to lead you down any primrose path or paint you into a corner. I've read most of the TPP, and boy, I am absolutely against it the way it's worded now. Why are you against it, and why are you trying to defeat it?
There are many, many problems with the TPP, and we could talk for hours. However, the bottom line is that the TPP gives up a degree of U.S. sovereignty very similar to Germany or France joining the European Union. As a matter of fact, the European Union originally began as a series of trade agreements. I don't want to give up U.S. sovereignty. I don't want a global commission making decisions on behalf of the U.S., and I don't want global courts and tribunals making decisions that we are accustomed to having the U.S. justice system decide.
You know, I'm worried about some of the tactical points of the TPP, Christina. Without going into any great specifics, I think there are some agricultural groups within the confines of the United States that are advocating the signing of the TPP, but I think that's tunnel vision on their part because it may help them, but it might hurt somebody else. Am I right or wrong on that?
Agriculture would be the number one industry group that is promoting the TPP, and the groups have been told from the top down that the TPP is good for them, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on that right now. I will tell you that there are many, many industry groups who are opposed to the TPP because it will harm their industries. That would include pharmaceuticals, financial services, steel, dairy, textiles, and a variety of others. So yes, there might be a benefit to agriculture, but it's not worth A, giving up sovereignty, and B, harming all these other industries.
You know, there is a phrase, a two-word phrase, that bothers me more than anything else about the TPP and trade agreements when they start using the phraseology living document. Well, okay, let's break this down. Living document means to me, oh, well, we don't like it the way it's written today. We'll change it tomorrow in favor of so-and-so, maybe over in Russia or so-and-so over in China. Am I wrong in thinking that when you put the phrases in their living document, look out, nothing's set in stone?
Right. The TPP is a living document, and it specifically refers to that phrase within the document itself. It's called a living agreement, and what that means is when all of the countries ratify the TPP in their various congresses and parliaments, and it becomes, the law of the land, there will be a new commission called the TPP Commission, and we will have representatives from each country there, and they are allowed to change any part of the TPP that they like. They can take away parts. They can put in parts that are not in there today. This is a 5,544-page document, and it might as well be a million-page document based on anything they're free to do in the future.
Who are the people, the brain trusts, if you will, Christina, that are going to make up the commission, that are going to sit there like angels on a pedestal and make up their minds whether it's good, bad, or ugly?
That's a very interesting question. We don't know who those people are yet, but we can presume that they will be appointed by world leaders. I would not be surprised if former Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, were one of the people who has been promised a position on that commission just because of something fishy that he did last October right before the document was signed. I would not be surprised if somebody like an Obama or a Clinton were appointed. And I think that was one of the direct goals, because the globalists and most of the famous families that we know of, including the Romneys and the Bushes, are very much globalists. I think that they had all kinds of negotiations with world leaders, thus all of the millions and billions of dollars that came into the Clinton Foundation. I believe that she promised to give them certain things, and they gave her money, and it was all part of this trade agreement and globalism, and now they've been shot in the foot, and Donald Trump is coming in, and we will probably not ratify the TPP, and that will send shockwaves around the world.
Okay, we will probably not ratify, you said, the TPP. However, you know as well as I do that little people with glasses on the ends of their noses are trying to rewrite it and redo it so it might become palatable. I don't trust these people. Whether it's climate or whether it's energy or whether it's healthcare or whether it's even our use of our Second Amendment in this country, firearms, the way this thing's constructed, Christina, they being the world, they can tell us what to do, can't they?
Yes, but I do not believe the TPP is being rewritten at all. It has already been signed by the trade ministers. The document is in stone. The only way to reopen negotiations is to get all the countries to agree to reopen negotiations. And many of them have not only publicly stated that there's no way they're going to renegotiate, but several of them have said it very laughingly towards the U.S. Because the number one goal of the U.S. in renegotiating right now is changing the pharmaceutical rules, because basically the U.S. pharmaceutical industry did not fare well in the TPP, and all the other countries are very glad that they are going to get U.S. drugs with shorter patent time periods than the U.S. industry would like. So it's not being renegotiated. If it were renegotiated in the future under a Trump presidency, for example, it would take years because the original document took 10 years to negotiate.
I'm a little worried about something else, too, and it's a battle of semantics here and words and wordplay, etc. But I'm worried that there could be a ganging up, if you will, of countries and leaders or this commission, and I'm assuming that the United States would only have one vote. They being the angels that sit on high with the TPP, couldn't they force us into some really bad situations?
They could. Now think about this. The U.S. is one of the only Judeo-Christian nations in the world, and a lot of nations are hostile towards our basic religious principles and moralities. We are one of the only constitutional republics in the world, and a lot of countries don't like that. They might be socialist, they might be running under a religious regime like Islam. They don't like our form of government. So if we are one vote amongst 12, and our vote, by the way, counts equally to the country of Brunei's vote. Brunei operates under Sharia law and kills gay people and kills unwed mothers, and our vote would count equally to theirs. I think a lot of folks on the commission would not be voting in a way that would be in the U.S.'s best interest. They don't like us.
The thing also that worries me, Christina, and there you have the expertise to tell me if I'm right or wrong, I don't like the idea of these smaller countries, many of which you just mentioned, telling me and the United States that we have to or will be forced into an income equality or a wealth redistribution. I could see where we could get hurt so bad that we'd be financing people in little world 3 situations to bring us down to a standard at their level. I can see this. Am I wrong?
Right. The entire point of socialism and globalism is to equalize the various countries. Well, the U.S. is already dramatically higher than most countries in the world in most areas of life and freedom and liberties and government function and such. So if we were required to be on an even playing field with other countries, the only way to accomplish that is by bringing us down, taking away our freedoms, limiting our earning ability, limiting what they teach us so that we can't be as smart as we currently are. So, there is no benefit to the U.S. becoming equal to other countries. We should continue to thrive, and for other countries that are willing to play ball, we should have wonderful negotiations and diplomatic relationships. But for countries that operate under Sharia law or countries that are trying to strong-arm us via currency manipulation, we need to draw a line in the sand and say we are not doing this, and you don't get to do business with us until you get your act together.
You study a lot of these trade agreements. I know you have far more knowledge than I do about them, but really in the last 20 years, I don't think the United States has made strong trade agreements to protect us, the United States, first. Am I wrong?
The problem in the last 20 years is every single time we enter into a trade agreement, whether it's NAFTA or the one with South Korea, for example, we immediately increase our trade deficit with that country. So we are running trade deficits with all of our trading partners. And what that means to the average person is that other countries are selling more of their stuff to the U.S. than the U.S. is selling to them. And when we are flooded with their products, that means that we are producing fewer products, which means we are employing fewer people at lower wages, and businesses are going into bankruptcy. So we need to fix the trade deficit situation and aim for trade balance, which can only improve pretty much every aspect of the U.S. economy.
Do, in your opinion, most senators and congressmen understand the severity and the devil in the details of the TPP, or are they completely naive and most haven't even read it?
In early 2015, that's when I started going to Washington, D.C. and lobbying against Fast Track Trade Promotion Authority, which was the prelude legislation to the TPP. And I will tell you that many of the congressional offices that I visited were relatively oblivious to everything that you and I are talking about today. And God bless them. I do not fault them for that. We get brand new Congress people every 2 years, every 4 years, et cetera, and they come from all walks of life, and they have to suddenly go to D.C. and master every single political issue that exists. So trade was not pressing at the time, so many of them were not remotely up to speed on trade, but that's what lobbyists do. We visit the staffers, and we explain to them, this is the TPP, or this is Fast Track, this is why I think it's bad. Granted, they have other folks coming in and saying why they think it's good, but from our educating them, I can tell you that several dozen Republican Congress people who did vote yes on Fast Track are now planning to vote no on TPP because they have become educated and they are horrified at what they have learned.
Okay, bottom line is, does it still stand a snowball's chance in the oven of passing, or what are your concerns on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think there's a 90% chance that it will fail, and like if the vote took place tomorrow, I would say there's a 100% chance it will fail. And the biggest variable there is the pharmaceutical industry, because they have recently indicated that they are willing to let it pass anyway, even though they didn't get what they wanted. So that's sort of a wild card, and that could take like the 100% chance down to 75%. And then the question becomes, will other industries cave in and stop protesting? But while some of the industries might be caving in, more and more of the Congress people are actually growing in opposition to the TPP, offsetting, any cave-in on the pharmaceutical side. So I still think that if the vote took place this year, we would absolutely get a no vote.
You know, you mentioned one name, and I've got to wrap this up here pretty quick, Christina, but you mentioned the name Obama. He's going to be unemployed as President of the United States in 64 days, thankfully. And this man really pushed for the TPP to go through. What are your concerns or fears about Barack Obama getting involved and working for a world-type agreement?
I think this trade agreement was his baby. It was his legacy legislation. It was more important to him than anything else he's done, and we have essentially defeated it during his administration, which is awesome. But I think one of the reasons that it was so important to him was, again, promises he's made with world leaders, such as, I will deliver the TPP and you will give me this money or this position. They might be planning to put him in the new TPP Commission or the United Nations, and I think those plans are falling apart now. So I don't know what he'll be doing next, but I'm pretty sure he was planning to have some kind of high global leadership position.
Christina, you are welcome here anytime. You're very, very well informed. God bless you, Christina Huff, on the TPP. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on our program.
Thank you, Zeb. Great to be here.
All right. Thank you. Come back again. Wow. Very interesting lady, and she knows all about that Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement and the negativity and what might happen, and maybe it might go under. I hope it does. Let's get the weather forecast in here, and it's brought to you by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. These are people that really care. These are people that have been serving the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oakes, Mitch Goodwin, Lyden Crane. They know, and especially this time of the year as we're leading up to the end of the year and tax time and everything else, they can help you with all your tax return preparations, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning. The list goes on and on. These are the professionals, CPAs that know their business, and bring you the weather right now. Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company. Here's Gina.
Better enjoy today's weather because the rest of the week, woo, it's going to be getting chilly. Looks like mostly sunny skies for today, high of 66 with an overnight low of 38. Winds out of the south right around 11 miles an hour. Now for tomorrow, winds are going to be picking up to about 20 miles an hour. We do have some clouds in the area as well. high of 40, overnight low of 24. Sunny for Thursday, still going to be on the breezy side, high of 42, overnight low of 21. Pretty much the same for Friday, partly cloudy, 45, overnight low of 25. And then heat wave for Saturday, brace yourselves, partly cloudy skies, high of 53. That's your weather. For Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, I tell you, she does a great job on the weather, and I appreciate her. Thanks, Gina. And the weather brought to you this hour by our friends, your friends. You need to get a hold of them today for your tax planning. And that's, of course, Pope, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs, with offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Really top-notch professionals serving you. All right, let's get some calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. I would love to hear from you. And we'll talk about any subject matter for the remaining time in this hour and your opinions, so give us a call. I noticed there was a story in the paper this morning that said, quote, on the headline, "Timber interests welcome Trump win. Environmentalists worry." And I wanted to jump up and down and say, it's about time. For all of my friends, many, many friends with various people in the Northwest and groups and organizations that have suffered with the absolute decades-long curbs against logging in federal forests, all the folks like over in Molalla, Oregon, and other places, families that just absolutely reached the bottom of the barrel financially with all these absolute stupid restrictions, etc. I hope that the timber industry is opened up and can thrive and revive itself. And as far as the environmentalists are concerned, too bad, baby. I think absolutely it's time to look at the assets that God has given us, and with wise use and planning, they can be used to help refurbish, rebuild, and strengthen our entire economy here in this United States. So when I see headlines that say environmentalists worry, that gives me pause to just get a big smile on my face and say, go get 'em. All right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I also want to remind you about my good friend Tim Vaughn. This man and his crews and this business serving you at Streamline Precision. You know, I really want to emphasize that we're going into the winter months. I know the last couple of days it's been hard to understand winter with all the great temperatures. But listen, if you've got a dairy, a farm, a ranch, a business, whatever, and you need something built before next spring, now is the time to get it scheduled. With the pre-engineered steel buildings from Nucor and Prime and Sukup, and I'll tell you, Streamline Precision can do the job for you in making sure that all your building needs are met. Now, dairymen with the feed lanes and the mangers replaced and all kinds of concrete feed lanes, call Tim Vaughn today. Call him right now and say, Tim, we need your help. 431-7314. Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. Streamline Precision serving you. Okay? Hurry up and get that call done. All right, it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A couple of things that need to be said here. Thanksgiving, just a little bit more than a week away. And I want to mention some of the Thanksgiving dinners that are going to be available for you and your family. If you don't want to cook at home, I'm going to give you some of that information. I'm going to give them to you one on top of another. I'm not jading one over the other, but I want to make sure I get this done. Thanksgiving dinner presented by the churches in the Minicash area and a free will donation with a minimum of $2. It's going to be on Thanksgiving Day from 11 to 3 at the Senior Junction. 2421 Overland Avenue in Burley. Okay? Traditional turkey dinner with dessert and all the trimmings and everything. And I just urge you to attend. Then also, here we go, at the Rupert Elks Dining Hall on Thanksgiving, a free community 15th annual Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody welcome. It's presented by Alaska's Best and the Rupert Elks Lodge. And it's going to be from 12 to 4 on Thanksgiving Day at the Rupert Elks Dining Hall, 85 South, 200 West of Rupert. And if you need a ride or delivery or something, call them at 436-2447. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. Thanksgiving dinners are going to be available to a lot of great folks, thanks to these Thanksgiving dinner promotions that I've talked about. So we'll have it more on our air in the next couple of days. All right, your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The person I had on yesterday, and we were talking about millennials, and we were talking about these kids that have to grow up. There was a gentleman by the name of Tyler Durden, and he wrote 7 harsh realities of life millennials need to understand. And I got a call first. We'll get into that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning, Zeb. You just gave such a good commentary there, an advertisement for Thanksgiving, but I was curious as to whether you had heard about baby Jesus being stolen off the city park in Rupert.
No, I have not, and I find that despicable. What happened?
I guess the nativity scene being damaged.
Oh.
And I got a call from Becky Scow, who is the one that does a fabulous job of doing all the Christmas scenes and all the windows. And she was also attacked last year and told, as well as the post office was, is not to put that nativity scene on their windows, so it was pulled off and put across the street on a vacant building. But they got it again this year, and they don't want the word belief in there.
Let me ask you a question, Gary. Now, on the theft of the baby Jesus, what is it going to take to get that repurchased and reestablished in the nativity scene? Do you have any idea?
No, I have no idea. She just called me to let me know that just a little bit ago. She said it happened between the 11th and the 14th.
Well, here's...
our newspapers only won't come out until today or tomorrow, so I wouldn't have any clue. And I thought, well, I haven't heard it on the radio, so I didn't know whether you had heard or not.
I had not, but I'm going to tell you this much right now. I will chip in my own money along with, I'm going to ask others. If you can find out the particulars as to how we can go ahead and get another baby Jesus for that nativity scene, I will chip in some money from this program, and I'm going to ask others to contribute. And then I'm going to ask that there be better observation of anybody that is maybe maliciously inclined to do this dastardly deed again. I hope they're caught, I hope they're prosecuted, and I hope they're locked up. I can't be any more forceful than that.
Well, maybe we could turn that money into a reward, because the rat always turns it itself to another one.
I'd be in favor of that. Again,
I don't know if the police department's heard about it, or if they know about it, or if the sheriff has done anything about it. So this is the first I heard about it, but here we go again. So who knows? Before nothing will happen on the in our parks.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Gary, and I got to run to the news right now, but find out more. Call me tomorrow morning on the program. Let me know the particulars in the first hour, and we'll take it from there. How's that?
Okay, thanks, Ed.
All right, buddy. Thank you. I can't think of anybody... Well, yeah, I can. Low enough to commit a crime such as that, stealing a baby Jesus out of a nativity scene, or desecrating the scene itself, or condemning people for having a nativity scene. That's what Christmas is! Oh, you do not want to raise my ire on this situation. I will contribute, I will help, I'll do all I can to find out who these guilty parties are. We're going to take a little break, and then Dr. History comes up next half hour. Zeb at the Ranch, don't go away. I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Oh, my, I've got to turn the mic on. It's part of the rules. It says, rule number 1, when you want to talk, turn the mic on. I forgot that. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and so glad to have you with us. We're going to have Dr. History here in just a few moments. Of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Hey, I know of a rip and good cattle sale coming up for the best in bulls and the best in females. That's going to be at the Molson Angus and Hereford sale going on at the Molson Ranch, 3135 Elmore Road between Parma and Fruitland. Boy, I'll tell you what, look at this catalog. First class cattle, 100 head of bulls and about 50 head of females. Going to be a really good sale. Angus and Hereford sale, November 19th, junior fitting and showing at 11 a.m., followed by lunch and a buyer's social, and then the big sale on Saturday, November 20th. Tri-tip lunch at noon, sale to start at 1 o'clock. Be there. All the animals have been vaccinated and ready for shipment. Molson, Angus, and Hereford sale, and between Parma and Fruitland, this coming next week on the 20th. Don't you forget it. No, actually, it's this week. What am I saying? It's coming up on Friday and Saturday. My goodness, I don't want to steer you the wrong way. Molson, Angus, and Hereford sale this weekend up in Parma. Don't miss it. Right now it's time for Dr. History, and we're all kind of discombobulated here this morning over the news of some of the things we've been talking about. And Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the whole crew with all your roofing material, your windows, your lumber packages, everything at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. And right now, without further ado, my friend, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Just to start out today's program, I just want to pay a little tribute to a man who is larger than life. He's the kind of person that you talk about on the radio, Zeb. Mm-hmm. Good, strong Christian man, loved his family, loved his country. My brother-in-law, Bruce Burtonshaw, passed away last week from a sudden heart attack, and he was everybody's best friend, and he will leave a big hole in our community and in our family. A man that I truly loved and was a best friend to me. And I just want to pay tribute to a great, great individual, Bruce Burtonshaw.
Life can be very challenging and life can be very bitter, but it's always with warm regards that we remember the ones we loved.
And, again, the Christian beliefs help.
See them again.
Comfort. So,
absolutely.
Anyway, so we're going to move right ahead now.
Thank you.
Get that over with.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, it took a long time for mankind to respect the value of a hospital. Okay?
You know, that's one of the most interesting things. I did not know that you were going to be talking about this morning.
Okay.
You didn't tell me. You never do. You always keep it secret. But I was going to ask you about frontier hospitals.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
I wrote it right down here on the paper. I mean, there's some kind of a
ESPN or something between us.
That's a sports channel.
Oh, that's right, ESPN. Anyway, you know, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was a bad reputation. I mean, hospitals evolved from what they called pest houses and almshouses, where contagious or hopeless people were brought to die out of sight of the public. It was a slow process for the hospitals to become accepted as a place for ordinary people to go for treatment. So the situation was not unique to America, actually, or the frontier. This was worldwide, all around the world.
So hospitals, per se, they were just kind of get them out of the way, out of sight, out of mind.
Until they die.
Really?
Yeah, just get them out of sight so you don't have to watch people die. So, but, you know, for most of the 19th century, there was no clear understanding about hygiene. And we've talked about that in the Old West, you know, with the cavalry and all that, you know, public health in general. I mean, hospitals were actually unhealthful places to go. In fact, most patients admitted for whatever reason would have been better off to stay at home.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, in the last 2 decades of the 1800s, however, that's when germs and sanitation became better understood.
So basically the 1880s.
Yeah. Before,
wow.
Yeah. So this is after the Civil War.
That's only about 60-plus years from when you and I were born.
That's right.
We're old.
And, you know, the hospital became a place where they started to have better sanitation. Now, this British surgeon, Joseph Lister, which probably everybody knows, learned about antisepsis.
Yeah, he made Listerine.
He did. That's
Gargle.
what it's named after.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was something they started using in surgeries, and also...
Why? What caused them? What was the turning point in the Old West? Or, for that matter, around the world?
I think for one reason is the high death rate. For example, there was a hospital that was teaching doctors how to be doctors. Now, in the basement of this hospital, they had a morgue where they would do dissection to learn their profession.
Yeah.
And when it came time for a woman to have a baby, they'd just go from the morgue straight up to the second or third floor and help deliver a baby without washing hands.
Oh.
And so the mortality rate was huge with not only the mothers, but the babies.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And so as they learned to wash their hands and take care of things, then, of course, the mortality rate was much, much better. So, but in addition to this medical advance, another development credited with the spurring of the evolution of the hospital, and that was the nursing profession. And we talked about that a few months ago.
Yeah.
The seeds of this noble calling were planted during the Civil War, where the cleanly habits and compassionate support of the field nurses had a huge, if undocumented, impact on the wounded soldiers' recovery.
It kind of blows my mind that mankind, all the way from England and the European theater, all the way to the Revolutionary War, to the Civil War, and there was nothing that talked about hygiene.
Right. And again, these nurses can't be understated. I mean, these were dedicated women working probably almost 24 hours a day, especially during the Civil War. I mean, these were amazing women that took this on.
Wow.
But from about 1870 to 1910, the hospital evolved from a place for the dead and dying to go to an establishment that was vital to the public health care. And eventually this center stage for medical education. So the hospitals, and you know this, practical application is where you really learn. And so a doctor may go to medical school, but when you get into the trenches, so to speak, that's where you really learn. And unfortunately, you learn by mistakes, too.
Yeah.
But progress...
That's why they call it medical practice.
That's right. As soon as you get good at it, let me know.
Yeah.
You know. But progress led to surgical techniques that were best performed in a hospital setting, and hospitals also began to provide laboratory and x-ray facilities. Now, so can you imagine, as a doctor, somebody comes in with a broken bone, and you're really not sure where or how to set it, so x-rays were a huge advancement.
But you have to think, and I'm sure you've thought of this too, that the medical profession, if you will, for all those decades or centuries prior, it would have been hard for these people to change and transition their thought to some new idea, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, because tradition. Call the doctor and whatever he used. Now, China kind of had a good thing over there. The doctor's job was to keep the emperor alive. And so if the emperor died, so did the doctors.
There's incentive.
That is, isn't it? Is this a good time for break?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And I want to brag a little bit more about our dear friends. It's not bragging when it's a fact. And Minnecasia Sales, absolutely the best. At 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, number to remember, 878-2091. And as you know, the cost of metal roofing material is going up, and now's the time to get the packages that you need for your roof. And don't forget, too, they've got the shingles and the metal or asphalt and all your lumber. They've got the western windows. Keep that cold winter air outside. Keep the warm inside. All your carpet, all your Tartar Farm Ranch gates and panels, everything over there at Minnecasia Sales. And they can also help find the contractors to do the installation work, too. Minnecasia Sales, bringing you Dr. History. And here he is.
All righty. Well, hospitals at military posts were really the first medical institutions on the Old West. During the Gold Rush and the Western settlement, the United States Army established forts, of course, we've talked about that, to protect the immigrants. But nearly all of these posts had a hospital of some sort, and I'm going to talk about that. These facilities were just as important to the opening of the West as the soldiers and the artillery and all that.
Was the number one worry, was it hygiene and cleanliness cleanliness, or was it the wound themselves? I know a lot of stories about gunshots and being shot with an arrow or whatever. It seemed like they had some fairly good practices, but the hygiene was poor.
Right, and one of the biggest things that happened, even with a bad cut from an axe or a knife, would be infection. Right. So, but anyway, these posts provided civilization for a lot of these pilgrims, medical care for the sick and the injured, and you can imagine on a wagon train, there's going to be accidents. So, anyway, the size and quality of Army hospitals varied a lot. Some were simply converted barracks, while others were specially constructed with kitchens, laundries, bathing facilities. Now, Fort Yuma was one of the earliest military posts, and that was in 1849, so that's still a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that, of course, was in Arizona, and it was a poorly supplied fort, which was subject to frequent raids by the Indians, by the Mexican soldiers. But the hospitals consisted, and I get this, Zeb, 2 tents covered with brush and a vegetable garden tended by the doctor. That was the hospital. 2 tents. So now another place.
Have to use Blue Cross to get in?
I don't know, but for the first year, there's a place called Fort Halleck, which is near Elko, Nevada, and the hospital consisted of a single tent. But the next year, 1868, an adobe structure measuring 40 by 30 feet. Now that's not very big, Zeb, but it's better than the tent.
Yeah.
And it was completed. But the same year at Fort Harney in Oregon, a hospital of logs and mud was constructed. Now, depending on their location, some military hospitals were busy and others were not. And as times changed, some posts were abandoned, and new ones built. Now, in 1875, there was a place called Fort Ellis, which is up by Bozeman, Montana. And insight into the kinds of problems military hospitals faced over a 4-year period. The Fort Ellis Hospital treated 134 fevers, 71 cases of rheumatism, 75 cases of infections.
Did they have adequate treatment, though?
By this time, I think they did have some things.
Or was it by the grace of the good Lord that they ever healed up?
Well, I think they had penicillin by then.
Really?
I believe they did.
But they're still in the archaic ages regarding cleanliness.
Yeah, and at this place alone, there were 400 accidents. Now, get this, though. There was only 1 death. So, obviously, they had come a long ways.
Well, when they found out that they had to go to the hospital, it scared them right back to physical fitness.
Yeah. Now, the first Fort Ellis Hospital, established in 1867, consisted of 3 small rooms. It was shabbily built, insufficiently heated, poorly lit, underventilated, had no laundry or bathing facilities. Okay, now, you might complain about a hospital bed, Zeb. Listen to this. The bedding consisted of bags of straw for mattresses covered with blankets and buffalo robes. Now, next time you're in the hospital and you're complaining about your sheet or your bed.
Give me my buffalo robe.
Yeah. So, anyway, 1863, gold was discovered in Alder Gulch, Montana, and more mineral discoveries soon followed. And as the golden age played out in one place, the miners moved on. And with this boom and bust attitude, the community developments like schools, hospitals, water systems, sewage disposals didn't seem important.
Now, that I don't mean to sound crass, but let's talk about that just for a second. The sewage and hygienic value of getting rid of the waste, let's say. Ooh, that must have been really something. No wonder they had typhoid.
But, again, it was like a boom and bust thing. You might be going into one area and it'll boom for maybe 6 months or a year, and then they're gone. So why would they take the time to stop and have any kind of a permanent facility, I guess?
Oh, my goodness.
So, but, as the populations grew and stabilized, the hospitals became an important mark in the community. Now, one gold find labeled Last Chance Gulch blossomed into the city of Helena, Montana. Really? So there's an example of one that obviously people stayed. So Helena was never intended to be a permanent settlement, but nevertheless, 1865-66, the citizens of Helena donated money for a hospital. I guess, they must have had some foresight that this really was going to become...
This is after the Civil War.
Right. What did I say? 1865. 66. So, But the Miners' Hospital is what they called it, was probably the first institution in Montana. So the hospital was created to take care of an unusually high number of miners suffering from frostbite and starvation. So, I mean, you've been to Montana, Zeb.
Many times.
Wintertime up there
is cold.
It's cold and starvation anyway. But, you know, the original hospital was actually little more than a deserted cabin with a roof. But in a few years, the community raised enough money to provide accommodations for 163 patients, and the old building was eventually replaced by a better structure.
Do they still have it up there?
You know,
I mean, kind of a historical type thing?
You know, I would love to. That's something next time up that way. I'm going to see if I can find anything about that.
Yeah.
But now in Nevada, it took epidemics of smallpox to convince the Nevadans of the need for medical facilities. So these hospitals were needed, very, very, very important. But in addition to the many diseases that affected Western communities, mining accidents were commonplace. In fact, in Comstock, Nevada, at least one person a week died in the mines, and of course a lot were injured by explosions and falling rock and scaldings. So these were not OSHA-approved working conditions.
Yeah.
So the mining town of McCarthyville, Montana. Heard of that, Zeb? McCarthyville?
Not McCarthyville,
okay.
No, I haven't.
Had a hospital in 1890. The building was a low log structure with no floor. The only window was a hole covered with a canvas flap. Many men developed pneumonia that winter.
Oh, my God.
And the hospital was the busiest place in town. Unfortunately, most patients who went to the hospital came out dead. Well, you can imagine. I mean, there's no heat in that place, and a dirt floor.
Really?
So, now, according to one observer, it said it got so that every morning, just at daylight, a big Swede that was a kind of a nurse would come outside with a hand sled. He'd have a body wrapped in a $2 blanket. Then he'd start off up the creek, digging a hole in the snow for the dead person.
Are you kidding? Oh, my
So
goodness
almost every day.
sakes.
So the citizens of McCarthyville were soon fed up with the failure rate of the hospital's doctor.
Well, can you imagine?
Who had come from Great Falls, where it was understood he had built up a fine reputation as a veterinarian. Okay. All right. So a committee of citizens went to the hospital, knocked on the door. This big Swede, the nurse guy, he opened the door, and one of the men kind of tapped him gently on the head with the butt of a gun, and he dropped like a leaf.
Yeah.
Then the men cast around to look for the doctor, just in time to see his heels following him through the back window, and McCarthyville never saw him again.
Really?
The veterinarian.
He's gone.
Yeah. So, anyway, according to the story, another doctor came and the death rate declined considerably.
Wow.
So, anyway, many early medical institutions of the West were established by Catholic nuns.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
In 1864, the Sisters of Charity of Providence from Montreal came to Montana, and they set up an infirmary where they cared for Indians, white people alike. There were no physicians in the area, but in a simple room, these dedicated nuns diagnosed illnesses, they prescribed treatments, they set broken bones, and actually performed some surgery. But in the strict sense, the sisters practiced medicine, and their work really filled a void until doctors could actually get out there.
That's the one thing I was curious about is the surgeries themselves. You know, the advancement of what to do, where to go, where to cut, what not to. How did they get all this information?
Well, many, many years ago, it was considered unethical for a doctor to dissect an individual. And we're talking Europe here. And so the first person that actually dissected an individual to learn about the circulatory system and the nervous system was pretty much ostracized from the medical community. Yet how are you going to know what's inside unless you look?
Yeah, like a bag of M&Ms,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, going back to the Civil War, there was one particular battle, I can't remember which one, it might have been Gettysburg. The doctors were in an upstairs room, and as they would cut off a limb, they would throw the limb, the arm or the leg out the window, and pretty soon it built up to where it reached the window.
The second floor.
They would amputate a limb, move the patient, take a bucket of water, throw it across the table, put another guy down, and start working on him. And I highly respect the medical community. We have so much knowledge now and just some amazing, great physicians out there and nurses. I told you my wife had surgery here a few weeks back, and the nurses treated her so well. Just every need was taken care of.
Well, I've been operated on, and I'm not ashamed to say this or embarrassed, I've been operated on 18 times.
Yeah, so you've seen it.
And I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I still, with the last one, you still have a little trepidation. But my goodness, I'm glad you didn't tell me this story before I went in for the last one.
Well, if they come in with gloves on and a hacksaw from Ace Hardware, you might think twice.
Look out. No, I tell you that, there's so many more questions that we could ask about this segment, though.
Yeah, and I've got a whole book on the medical treatments throughout the Old West.
Really?
And I've used, and if people are interested, this is the book that I have gotten a lot of information. It's called Bleed, Blister, and Purge, by a guy named Steele, who was a medical doctor.
But, one thing that comes to mind on this is that it's amazing to me there weren't more deaths affiliated with the surgery in the Civil War. I mean, with the kind of if you will, assembly line of doctors just chopping off the limb and out the window, and then these people lived.
Yeah. Well, do you remember her story I told a while back about a guy that amputated his own foot? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Wow.
I mean, some of these people were pretty tough.
Well, yeah, but I'm not good. It's not something you want to practice.
Not on yourself.
You did it, Doctor. Good job.
Thank you, Zeb.
Dr. History. And it kind of gave me a little bit of the quivers and the sweats talking about that story. Okay. But I'm sure that you'll probably want to relate what's next week.
I would, but, I like to keep that a secret.
Oh, wait a minute. Next week we won't be on.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Well, we will be.
Oh, you will be?
That's
Okay.
right. I will be.
All right.
On Thursday, I won't be here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got ahead of myself. We'll be here.
I will be here.
Okay.
Yes.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
Dr. History brought to you by some great folks. Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the whole crew serving you. Please stop in, talk to them today for your lumber, your windows, your shingles, your carpet, your gates and panels. It's all there with really professional people. Minnecasia Sales bringing you Dr. History. Thank you very much. We got a minute, and I just got to get these in quick before I say goodbye to Dr. History. Don't forget Streamline Precision with my friend and yours, Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. Why am I telling you this? Because now is the time to call them. Now is the time to get scheduled for your buildings to be put up during the winter months so they're ready to go next spring. They've got the best of steel buildings, Nucor and Prime and Sukup, and this is the time to get scheduled. Believe me, all you have to do is call for an estimate. Call Tim at 431-7314. The very best serving you, Streamline Precision. You give Tim a call today. By the way, too, don't forget on Thursdays we've got, of course, a segment called Cassia County School Days, and I certainly want to say thank you very much, Debbie Critchfield and all the people that are on that program. Thank you, and it's sponsored by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and, of course, Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley. For all your family needs of books and puzzles, toys, clothing, everything, it's at A Child's World, 1308 Overland, and don't forget for your outpatient surgeries, the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland and Burley. Number to call, 677-8888. Bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Right now we're going to send it over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome back. And also wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving. Of course, the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Avenue in Heyburn. Wonderful people, and they love this community, and they want to say to all the businesses and everybody else, happy Thanksgiving, and don't forget to stop into the Visitor Center in Heyburn. They've got a great selection of made in Idaho products and gifts at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Kyla and the crew crew over there serving you and wishing you well for Thanksgiving. Along with La Vintage Boutique. These are wonderful people. What a great store at 1240 Oakley Avenue in Burley. They've got new seasonal hours to help you with all your shopping needs. And boy, don't think about anything else but stopping there first, because they've got some awesome Christmas ideas. Many one-of-a-kind gifts. My goodness, now is the time to stop in and see them at La Vintage Boutique, 1240 Oakley Avenue in Burley, or call 878-8942. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and I got to tell you, folks, I am shocked. I am absolutely rocked back on my boot heels over this case that we're going to talk about with attorney Christina Martin with the great folks of the Pacific Legal Foundation. I had to stutter for a minute because I dropped the papers on the floor. But good morning to Christina Martin. How are you this morning?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's my pleasure, but I got to tell you, when I heard about private property rights going out the window with a family in Florida that had their own personal little island that they had purchased, they'd paid the taxes on, and now Big Brother bureaucracy is telling them they can't use it, what's going on here?
Well, that's exactly right. Gordon and Molly Byer bought an island, a 9-acre island down south of here in Monroe County. I'm up here in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And in 1970, they bought that island, hoping that they could one day retire there. At the time, it was zoned so they could build one house per acre. But after a number of government regulations piled on over the years, the government decided in 1996 that they wanted to turn it into a bird rookery.
Now, help me. What is a bird rookery? Exactly what does that mean?
Well, that basically just means that the government said that birds can live there and you can't. So ultimately, the government said, really, all you can do there is temporary camping. You can't alter the land. You can't do anything with these 9 acres you've been paying taxes on, that you paid good money for. So the buyers immediately filed basically paperwork with the local government asking for a beneficial use determination. They said, well, you know, is there an exception where you're going to let us do something with this island? The government stalled for many years. They didn't want to make a determination. And ultimately, after several years of this stalling, they said, no, you can't do anything. So the buyers sued, and the case has been up and down since. And now we're asking the Florida Supreme Court to hear it because we believe their Fifth Amendment right has been violated by this outrageous law that took all of the value of their property.
Okay, now, Christina,
a penny.
You got to bear with me. I'm just an old, simple cowboy, and I got to put this together in my mind's eye. This island of 9 acres was up for sale. And this family originally put the money up front and bought the island as a piece of property that they wanted to build on and live on, hopefully in the future. They paid their taxes on this. And then all of a sudden the city of Marathon, Florida said, nope, you can't do it. You don't have any control over it. You can still pay the taxes on it, but it's going to turn into a bird preserve. Did I miss something here?
Nope, that's exactly what they did. It's outrageous.
Okay, the next question is very simple. How in the world can this ever be considered as legal?
Well, that is a wonderful question, and that's what we're asking the Florida Supreme Court to hear, because the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says that private property can't be taken unless it's for a public use and with just compensation. And the U.S. Supreme Court has made very clear that when you take the use of property, that you also have to pay compensation, because what's the point of having title to property if you can't do anything with it?
So what about these...
It seems like a pretty cut and dry case that here the buyers should be compensated for the use of their property being taken. But the trial court disagreed, and the appellate court took some a claim by the local government that we gave them in exchange the right to Basically, it's a development right that would help bump them up in line, and they could use it somewhere else. And we think it's worth $150,000. Now, what it's actually worth, nobody knows, because this was not an issue that was properly briefed and heard in court. But the appellate court said, I guess it's not this value fulfills what their expectations were when they bought the property, and therefore there is no taking.
Okay, now, Christina, this is me. This is the way I would do it. Let me ask you one question before I give you my summation on this. Do they have a clear title to the ownership of that land?
Yes, it's a clear title, and as we explain in our brief, the government's or the court, the Third District Court of Appeals here, their theory that this transferable development right with an unknown value means there's no taking is actually incorrect, because that they're just answering whether just compensation was paid. That doesn't tell you whether there was a taking or not. The question, if there's a taking, then you determine whether just compensation is due.
Well, now here's what I would do. If I had clear title of that land, I, my wife, and anybody else that wanted to come with me, being that it's my land, I would take over to that little island a boat full of goodies, construction equipment, logs, poles, anything, and I would build. I would push the card against the government and against the city of Marathon and say, this is my land. I've got my own personal ownership of squatters' rights. I'll do with it as I please, as long as it is not environmentally going to hurt anything or the surrounding environment. I'm going to live on this island. You can't stop me. You see what you're going to do. And I would pull that card out of my hat and say, this is the way it is, boys. Prove me wrong.
Well, different property owners have tried that, and we did have a client back in a couple decades ago, actually, go ahead and build when he had a lower court decision saying no. Fortunately, the U.S. Supreme Court took that case, and because they ruled in our favor, and that was a case called Nolan versus the California Coastal Commission. Because they ruled in our favor, he was able to keep his home, but it's a very big gamble to take, and I wouldn't recommend it personally, because there's a lot of ways you can get in trouble, but, this is, I guess it's every person's right to decide for themselves how they're going to handle.
Well, yeah, but Christina, it boils down to more than that.
They're willing to take.
It boils down to more than that. It boils down to, do we have private property rights or not? Do we have ownership of land or not? Do we have a government-controlled sanctuary that is going to say, okay, you can pay the taxes on it, be Joe Good Guy, but no, you can't make any improvements, you can't live on it, you can't flush a toilet on it or anything else. We are Big Brother and we're in control. This is an issue that I don't care if it's in the city of Marathon, Florida, or a small island, or if it's in Wyoming, over the case regarding a stock tank and a pond. This has got to stop, and I hope that you folks really go in there tooth and nail and beat the government and the city of Marathon.
Well, I do too, and that's exactly why Pacific Legal Foundation exists. We don't charge our clients a penny. We're a nonprofit organization, so we go into court and we fight for people's rights to be able to use their property. We fight for the right to have, not have your value of your property completely taken away. If you own land, you should be able to do something with it.
In the pretrial investigatory type means of interviewing people, of which I know you have already and everything, what can be the bone of contention for the city of Marathon to basically says, we're going to thumb our nose at anybody that has property rights and we're just going to take it over? What are they saying to you that they can do this?
Well, they essentially said, you snooze, you lose. They just said you took too long. The buyers took too long to do anything with their property. Never mind that they bought it with the hope of being able to eventually build a home and retire there. That doesn't matter to the government. They said you snooze, you lose. You waited too long, and we're the government. And ultimately, that boils down to sort of that old idea that we're all serfs and the government's the king, and you don't really own anything that the government doesn't say, unless the government says you can own it.
You know,
that rights come from the government, and we, of course, believe that rights are inherent, that we're all, as the Declaration of Independence said, we're all endowed with certain inalienable rights. And one of those rights is the right to be able to have property and to use your property. And if the government wants to take your property or take the use of it, they should pay you for it.
Now, go back to one simple little catch here, and I've got to ask you this. The city of Marathon, certainly they're not collecting taxes from the family, are they? Or is the family still required to pay the taxes?
Yeah, they have been collecting taxes on the property. They've got the property evaluated as being not very valuable at this point.
This is insane.
You still have to pay taxes on it.
You use
with it other than go camping there.
Yeah, you use the terminology, if you snooze, you lose, you waited too long. I can give you at least 20 instances, Christina, that I know of people, parents, that bought property that they were going to give to their kids later on so they could develop a home site on it or whatever, or increase their homestead right there on the farm or the ranch. What's this craziness called you waited too long, if you snooze you lose? What's the value of having property if you can't do with it when you want to?
Well, and that's a great question, and the Supreme Court actually ruled in PLF's favor. One of my colleagues argued this case called Palazzolo, and the Supreme Court said you can't simply set an expiration date on property rights. Now, unfortunately, the trouble is getting lower courts to implement that fully, and getting the government to respect those rights. It's a challenge, but we're continuing to fight for it, and I'm optimistic that we will make good headway here in Florida. And if Florida doesn't get it right, then onward to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, but the caveat is here, they'd better get this right. This could be a millstone around every single private property owner in America if this case is lost.
Well, I think certainly here in Florida it's a millstone if it's lost. It's a very bad precedent to set that we would like the Florida Supreme Court to fix, and it is. But you're right to point out that this is a problem nationwide. We do hear of many instances where government takes the full value of property and they say, well, we gave you this sort of abstract right that you might be able to use on a parcel of land elsewhere, and therefore it's okay. Or you took too long to do anything with your land, so you're we do still hear this from places around the country. So it is an important issue that we continue to fight across the country.
You know, the Pacific Legal Foundation, I am absolutely very proud of the fact that many of the attorneys, yourself included, have been on this program to describe these various cases of almost insanity. And this one ranks at the top of the list, that you can buy property, own property, pay taxes on your property, everything is legal, but the government steps in and says, we're going to take it away from you. I have never heard a story that makes my blood pressure go to 200 over 100 this fast.
Well, sadly, I have heard a few like this that get me pretty worked up, too. But we continue to challenge it, and hopefully we will get some more property rights decisions in this area that help everybody across the country like we've done in the past. And hopefully we will get help really the judiciary better understand these property rights issues and how fundamental they are to individual rights.
Is there, I want to phrase this correctly, Christina, but is there an underlying, not brought out reason why the city of Marathon and these bureaucrats want this property left vacant? Do they have something they want to use it for?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know there's a lot of resistance to new buildings in Monroe County. They don't want more people moving down there. There's multiple reasons they say that they need to keep more land vacant, like environmental reasons. Also, if there's a hurricane, it takes longer for everybody to get to safety. If you've got more people down there, the traffic makes it difficult to evacuate. There's a lot of reasons they say, but here's the thing. If it is so important that land stays empty, then the Constitution has a really easy solution, and the Supreme Court has said that it was designed to prevent an individual from bearing the burden that, in fairness and justice, everybody as a whole should bear. So if it's so valuable to keep that land vacant, then the Constitution solution is you pay them for it.
Yeah. And besides that, I can't see how they can retroactively dismiss a legal and binding sale and compensation for land. Everything's above board. They've got clear title to the land. I don't know how the courts can possibly disavow that as private property to be used by the owners in any legal fashion they want. I don't know how they could lose this case.
You know, I agree, and fortunately, we got a really great dissent opinion from one of the judges on this case, and you know, it's just a problem where there's a lot of judges who are either don't understand property rights or they're overwhelmingly inclined to defer to what the government wants. They say, well, the government's allowed to legislate. This is a democracy, but ultimately, the Constitution was designed to protect us from really the tyranny of the majority, so that every person's rights would be respected.
You know, Christina, please put my name and number down. Call me if you know of anything going on with this case. We'll come back on the air with it again. Christina Martin with the Pacific Legal Foundation, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. I got to tell you, I'm all in your corner. Anything we can do to offer to help, we will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and your listeners can find out more about the case on our blog, too, at blog.pacificlegal.org or at our website, pacificlegal.org.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Come back soon. Thanks a lot. All righty. Can you imagine that story? You buy a piece of ground, and all of a sudden the government says, we're going to take it away from you. We're going to let it be a bird preserve, and you can go ahead and pay the taxes on your property, but you can't do anything with it. What? Oh, man. Where's Matt Dillon and Chester when you need them, for heaven's sakes? Oh, we got to get the weather forecast on here, and it's brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget, wild game processing. They can take that wild game and turn it into salami, brats, jerky, breakfast sausage, you name it. It's delicious. Your hometown meat cutter and meat processor for over 20 years, Scarro's Meats. Here's Gina with the weather.
Better enjoy today's weather because the rest of the week, woo, it's going to be getting chilly. Looks like mostly sunny skies for today, high of 66 with an overnight low of 38. Winds out of the south right around 11 miles an hour. Now for tomorrow, winds are going to be picking up to about 20 miles an hour. We do have some clouds in the area as well. High of 40, overnight low of 24. Sunny for Thursday, still going to be on the breezy side, high of 42, overnight low of 21. Pretty much the same for Friday, partly cloudy 45, overnight low of 25. And then heat wave for Saturday, brace yourselves, partly cloudy skies, high of 53. That's your weather. For Zeb at the Rain.
Gina, thank you. Beautiful day outside right now, but you can see some of the heavier clouds coming in. Don't forget our weather brought to you this hour by Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at Scarro's Meats. Wonderful people at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. By the way, Deanne, if you're out in the other room listening on the radio, could you come in for a second? In regards to the theft of the baby Jesus from that nativity scene over in Rupert, I want to reemphasize that if that is all the true story and that did happen, yes, this program will help any way we can to make sure that there is a repurchase and a reestablishment of the real meaning of Christmas, and that's, of course, the birth of Jesus Christ. And what did you give me for information earlier on that, Deanne, in regards to someone wanted to help with the baby Jesus? You came in and told me about that earlier. And, well, anyway, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Gary Shoresman is going to give us more information on that tomorrow in the first hour. But I can't imagine how anybody could sink and stoop that low. If you're out there and you're listening and you're the criminal that did this, God help your soul. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And, of course, they've got all the tires for all the really adverse driving conditions through the winter, ice and snow and slush and rain and everything else. Well, I'll tell you what, they've got all the tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs, to make sure you drive carefully with all the traction you need. Don't forget all the tires. Don't forget the best in brake service. Don't forget, of course, all the front end alignments, shocks and struts, and the batteries. Oh, by the way, battery's very important. If you haven't had your battery checked lately, you better get in there and check it out, and you might need a new one to kind of turn over that four-wheeled wonder in the colder days ahead. They've got the best at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget to stop in and see Lane and Rupert. Hello, Lane, and, of course, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb. This is Ross Newcomb out at Newcomb Farms out here north of Rupert, and I was the one that called in and said, I will definitely help you put in and help replace that. And I'm sure other people will call too. It's just not right.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and I mean this, Ross. I'm going to find out more information about this after the program, and I'm going to kick in some money from my company, Shoot 2 Promotions, and I've got your name on a list, and I think others. But, you know, along with buying and purchasing a new Christ child for that nativity scene, I'd also like to see an enhanced observation to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely, yes. And, you know, it's just like the thing that happened about this time last year right there on the post office there and that. And, boy, I'll tell you what, you go into Rupert and that, people are already talking about it. They says, if we have to, we'll buy it to put on that other deal because it's just not right. People are taking over, and it's not fair, and it's not going in the right direction.
Well, Ross, I'll tell you, I'll be in touch with you when I find out more information, or you can be listening to the program, and we'll go from there. But I don't care where it is, whether it's Rupert, whether it's Paul, whether it's Twin Falls, Dietrich, it doesn't make any difference. This kind of sickness has got to stop, and we've got to have better policing on these issues, but I'm not about to see that nativity scene vacant in the manger of no Christ child. And this company, my company, will help along with yourself, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, and I'll be listening for you, Zeb, and thanks for everything you do.
All right, sir. God bless you, and I mean that. The sickness and the perverts in our society that would do something like this, I hope right now they're sweating. I hope right now they're really worried. I hope that they get caught. I hope that they're prosecuted. I hope that they get a jail sentence for theft. I don't care what the problem is, but don't desecrate Christmas, especially the nativity scene. We're going to wrap it up for today and come back tomorrow at 8:06. Ride the Horse for 3 hours, and right here on KBAR 1230 and streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. And I thank you for your listenership. I thank you for all that you do to keep this program rated number one in its time slot. Thank you very much. Until tomorrow, the way things were or the way things ought to be, God bless. We'll see you at 8:06.